and bifurcating, so it's hard for me to determine that, but I'm sure they're saying 238 is the right common carotid. And then 214, sorry Kevin, 214 is the left common carotid. But better than that model is this model right here. It's better. Because I have a right common carotid right here, and I have a left common carotid right here, and they are going to bifurcate into the internal and external carotid arteries. And when I get to them, I'll come back to this. All right? So I have those common carotids there. Oh, they're next. External and internal carotids. Okay. So what you got to do is just trace this. All I do is look and I trace. The one that comes up into here is the internal carotid artery. That's this one right here. And by the way, it probably does look like it's going deeper, so you can say it's the internal carotid artery. That's the internal carotid artery. That's the external carotid artery. The internal carotid artery climbs up through and enters the circle of Willis up here. All right? The circle of Willis. We'll cover that circle of Willis. That's an internal carotid. That's an internal carotid. Out here, that's the left internal carotid. That's the left external carotid. That's the left common carotid. And of course, on the right-hand side, you have the same thing. Right common carotid, right external carotid, right internal carotid. All right? Subclavian arteries and veins. Okay, here are my subclavian veins. 239 and 243 are subclavian veins. So 239 and 243 are subclavian. I'm going to step in front of you. Okay. Now, Fred, I actually can see the left subclavian artery right here. I can. I can't see the right at all. Okay? But here's the left subclavian. No number, unfortunately. Let me look on Fred. On Fred, I can see my two subclavian veins. No numbers. Those are the jugulars coming down in. Don't think they're the numbers. And I can see, what's that number right there? And I can see the left subclavian artery on Fred, it's 306. It's right here. You can see the subclavian arteries and veins run right together. It's just that the lungs pulled out of the one side, the left side, so you can see these. The lungs in the right side, I can't see them. Well, I can see the vein, I just can't see the artery. So those are the right and left subclavian arteries and veins. And look at models to make sure that there's not other places you can see them. All the models that we have up here for you. Vertebral arteries, only one place that you can see that, I think. And that's this artery right here, running right through the transverse foramen of your vertebrae. This is the vertebral artery running through the transverse foramen of your vertebrae. All right? See that right there? It's the only place I think you can see this. I'm trying to think if there's any other spine model. Come over here, Ken, in case this is on here. Oh, you know what? I think there is a spine model that has these arteries in them now that I'm thinking. So don't let me trick you. I'm pretty sure there's a spine model where I can see these arteries. All right? On the small guy? Can you bring it over to me?
I don't think we have numbers,
But you can see him a lot better?
well, I mean, I'm not close to there to see the videos.
Well, at least you can see both sides. On this little guy, you can see both sides. There's a subclavian artery, there's a subclavian vein. There's a subclavian artery, there's a subclavian vein. Here's your common carotid artery, here's your common carotid artery. Can't see the bifurcation of the common carotid. You can see the brachiocephalic trunk right there, bifurcating into the common carotid and subclavian. You can see my two brachiocephalic veins coming together to make the superior vena cava. You can see a lot in this guy. I'll leave this guy over here. Now you guys did bones this year. Do you remember that one spinal model that had arteries running through it? No? Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But this is the vertebral artery right here, and I think there's a spinal model that has it as well. I'll try and find it while you guys are working. That's vertebral artery. Okay, now we start entering what we're going to call the circle of Willis. We're not there yet, but we're almost there. Right here is the basilar artery. Almost looks like a centipede or a... This is the basilar artery right here. All right? So it almost looks like a centipede. I mean, not 100 legs, but it's got legs coming out from the side. That's the basilar artery. This basilar artery bifurcates and makes this circle right here. This circle is called the circle of Willis, right in here. But the circle of Willis has names. The posterior cerebral artery is right here. Right here and right here. Right here and right here. But what connects this posterior cerebral artery to this front part here, which I'm going to name? And it's this posterior communicating artery. Here's the posterior communicating artery, and here's the posterior communicating artery on both sides. This makes a circle. So posterior communicating, posterior communicating. Posterior cerebral, posterior cerebral. All right, next. Anterior cerebral artery. These are my two anterior cerebral arteries. But how do I get there? I get there through this anterior communicating artery on both sides. The two anterior communicating arteries join to complete the circle in most of us. In some of us it doesn't. So this is the anterior communicating, this is the anterior cerebral. Anterior cerebral, anterior communicating. Now this is called the middle cerebral artery, as you can imagine, because it's in the middle. And this is called the middle cerebral artery because it's in the middle. 70% of all strokes are in the middle cerebral artery or one of its branches. 70% of the strokes are right there. So in this artery or one of its branches are where most of the strokes occur. All right, the dural venous sinus. That's this blue area you see right here, like right in here. These are the dural venous sinuses. They have names. You'll learn them during the nervous system next semester. But we're just going to call these dural venous sinuses, unless the names are on here. Nope, just dural venous sinus. These dural venous sinuses, these broad veins, that's why they call them venous sinuses, because they're really big sinuses like the coronary sinus you learned already. They join to make these jugular veins, which aren't on this head. So I'm done with this head. Here's my jugular veins. Well, I have two jugular veins right here. I have one right here and one right here. See, here and here. The one that's towards the outside is called the external jugular vein. The one that's towards the inside is called the internal jugular vein. So now this is Fred, so put Fred next to your number. The external jugular vein is 304. The internal jugular vein is 303. 304, 303. 304 is external, 303 is internal. I can see my internal jugular veins here. I can't see my externals. So on the regular torso, 237 is the internal jugular vein. You stay right there, I'll be right back. But I do want to remind you about the Cadillac heart, where these jugular veins are just awesome. On the Cadillac heart, I have an internal jugular vein here and an external jugular vein here. I have an internal, nope, yes I do. I have an internal jugular vein here and an external jugular vein here. So internal, internal, external, external. Okay?
Do they have numbers?
Oh, on the Cadillac heart? Absolutely. My internals are 17s. My externals are 15s. Make sure you write Cadillac heart for that. All right, moving on. Axillary artery and vein. I can probably see it in a couple places. Yes. This is my axillary artery and this is my axillary vein. Right here on this torso. All right. Axillary artery, axillary vein. But that's not the best place to see it. Or maybe you guys think it is. Well, I can tell you this, that's the best place to see the vein. I forgot these arms and legs don't have many veins on them. I forgot that. I remember it now. This is the axillary artery, right here. 45 on the arm. 45 on the arm is the axillary artery. Oh, yes. This model is something else. You're going to need to spend some time in this model. It's a little confusing. This is your axillary vein. What do you guys want to call this model? I'll tell you what the key calls it. I put the key right here someplace. Where is it? The key calls it, this is the key to this model. The key calls it the vascular arm. So if you want to know the number for the axillary artery and vein, call it the vascular arm. By the way, I'll have you check me. If I say something wrong, stop me immediately. 18 is the axillary vein and 1 is the axillary artery. 18 and 1. Axillary arteries and veins. Okay? Subscapular artery. Subscapular artery. It's not on here. I better be able to find it. Oh, I can find it. You're going to have to zoom right in here. Right in here, where my axillary artery bifurcates, there's a number 46 that's on my scapular artery right there. All right? Then that bifurcates again, and 47 is my scapular circumflex. Is that on your list?
Yeah.
47 is your scapular circumflex. Oh, it is. Put arm and put 47. And then 48 is your humeral circumflex. Humeral circumflex. So 46 is my subscapular artery, 47 is my scapular circumflex, and 48 is my humeral circumflex. But you got to be careful because I can see my humeral circumflex artery a lot better right here. Look at it. It wraps around my humerus. Why wouldn't I use this one? Well, I probably would, but why I might not use it because I use it on another station. I had to find that artery someplace. But this is my humeral circumflex artery right here. And on the vascular arm, it's number 2. So on the big arm, the big muscular arm, the humeral circumflex is 48. On the vascular arm, the humeral circumflex is number 2. All right? By the way, just in case you're reading a key, they actually name these branches of this circular artery. They call this the anterior humeral circumflex, and they call this the posterior humeral circumflex. They come together. They're just a humeral circumflex. But some books actually do name them by, do they go behind it or in the front of it? So just in case you're reading the key and it says posterior humeral circumflex, the same artery. It just makes a circle around there. Humeral circumflex, scapular circumflex, brachial artery. Okay, the brachial artery and vein. I'm going to see if I can see it on here first. Yeah, I can. Most of these nerves are covering it up, but this right here is my brachial artery, number 49. There's 2 49s here. There's one here, and there's one again up here. Okay, and this is where I just lied to Andrea. Typically speaking, when an artery bifurcates, you rename both branches. But in this case, this artery did bifurcate. It bifurcated into the ulnar artery, and I'll give you that number in a second. But we continue to name this main branch the brachial artery. We didn't rename it. It's the brachial artery. There is a brachial profunda that comes off of it, and maybe that's why we didn't rename it. I'm not sure. So the brachial artery on the arm is 49. The ulnar, what's that number right there? It's kind of rubbed off.
Maybe 34.
I can't see that arm either. Does anyone have the arm key on them?
This looks like 54.
It looks like a 54 will be the ulnar artery.
Yes, superior ulnar collateral.
Collateral. Okay, let me.
59 is ulnar.
Gotcha. I know what they're showing you on that model. Watch this. I don't know how many of these are on your list, but I'm just going to go down through and show you something. Right here, I have my axillary artery coming in. It bifurcates, and I have my humeral circumflex artery right there. Then I have my brachial artery right here. Number 3 is my brachial artery. All right? But coming off of that, I have a superior... Whoa.
Had a superior.
I have a superior brachial collateral. And back here, I have some ulnar collaterals, and I hope they're not on your list. If they are, I'll have to figure out what they are. I have some ulnar collaterals and an inferior brachial collateral. Are they on your list, by the way?
Yeah, that's superior ulnar.
Okay, I'll have to figure out what they are in a second then. And they keep bifurcating, but they make a circle back here again. They make a circle. See that? And then they bifurcate further, and I have a radial artery right here. If you move these veins over, I have my radial artery. See, my brachial artery bifurcates. Here's my radial artery. But I have a radial collateral coming into it. And here's my ulnar artery. Number 9 is my ulnar artery. And then they make arches. I have a carpal arch, and I have 2 palmar arches. I have a superficial palmar arch, which is 13, and a deep palmar arch, which is 12. And then my veins start collecting and coming back. Now, let me go by the order of your list, and I have to figure this out. You guys have to do this too. You have to trace these arteries and figure out what they're telling you. Brachial artery and vein. So we did the brachial artery and vein. The brachial artery on the vascular arm is 3. Check it. The brachial vein is unnumbered on this vascular arm. I can see it, but it's unnumbered. You probably don't have a number for brachial vein. It's right there, but it's unnumbered. Okay, next one is basilic vein. Okay, you got to be careful of these two guys. See these 2 veins right here draining back into my axillary vein? This is my left hand, my left arm. Here's how I always remember this. It's a stupid way, but it's how I remembered it when I was in school. If I were to reach up and touch my head, which cephalic means head, the vein that would touch my head is this one. This is the cephalic vein. This is the basilic vein. This is the basilic. This is the cephalic. Which one do you think this is right here? Cephalic. That's the cephalic. Yeah. All right. Is there one on this side? So cephalic, basilic. They drain into the axillary. All right. Let's go in the order of your list. Basilic and cephalic. Median cubital. I wrote that you could see them both on old guy. I wrote that you could see them both on here. I don't see them both.
Is this one?
Oh. What number is that right there? 308? 309? Is that a 308 by any chance? Oh, right here's 308. Okay. Right here. I did write you could see them both. I can see the cephalic very, very clearly right there. On old guy, Fred, the cephalic is 307. On Fred, the basilic right here is 308. See how deep that is? It would never touch your head if you lift your head up like that. This one would.
Sorry, could you say those numbers again?
Yeah, cephalic on Fred is 307. Basilic on Fred is 308. All right. Next one, median cubital. All right. I think next year I'm going to reorder these words so I can actually trace it right back and show you how these come together. My median cubital vein is that's my basilic. My median cubital vein is 16. 19. It's this one right here. This is my median cubital. A whole bunch of veins join it. You can see veins joining it. You can see it coming right up the center right here. This is where you draw blood from. I'm going to put a tourniquet on one of you in a second. This median cubital is where you usually draw blood from.
16.
19.
19.
9.
You know what 21 is right here? It's probably not on your list. This is a cephalic accessory vein. It's not on your list, right? Cephalic accessory.
No.
So when you see the median cubital coming up through, you're going to say veins are you're supposed to join together, not split, and this one splits. Well, sometimes veins split and come back together. This one came back together. So this one right down the center. I wish they would have put the 19 here in the center. They didn't. They put it over here. All right. I don't like that. But here's your median cubital, where my stick is. This is the cephalic accessory. It comes off the median cubital and then rejoins the cephalic. But this is the median cubital we usually draw blood from.
Is it a sticker?
No, it's glued on.
Oh.
Yeah, if I could move it, I would. Radial arteries and veins. Okay, this is my radial vein and this is my radial artery. Let me see if I have numbers. I would say that the number for the radial artery is probably going to be number 8. but it's way up here, folks. I'm very sorry. It is confusing. The number 8's way up here, and I would label it down here near the thumb someplace, because the thumb side is the radius side. This is your radial artery. But the label for it's way up here. Okay, unfortunately. There's a radial collateral that comes into it right there. 15 comes into it. By the way, is that on your list?
Yeah.
Radial collateral's on your list?
Artery.
We are crazy. Is radial collateral 15 on there? Yeah, it is. Here's your radial collateral coming into it. I can't believe that's on there, but it is. Radial collateral, radial. All right? Ulnar artery and vein. Well, I can tell you this, that the ulnar vein on here is not labeled. I can see it, it's not labeled. But here's your ulnar artery, and let me give you a number for it. Number 9 is your ulnar artery, right here. That's your ulnar artery right there. Number 9. Now you're going to say this looks like your ulnar vein, but it's not. This is your basilic. This is your basilic. Now look at Andrea, because I just told you that you always rename things when they bifurcate or whatever. You're going to think this is your ulnar vein right here, number 17, but it's not. This is your basilic vein. And you're going to say, well, this should have a different name than this because two more veins joined it, and you're right, but this is the basilic all the way up through. So all the way down through here is your basilic. And my median cubital joined it, and my median joined it. By the way, is median vein on your list? Median vein? It's not? What's 16 stay right there? It should be median vein. Median vein itself is not on your list? Median cubital only? Okay. I don't need to tell you about 16 then.
Did you give us the number for radial vein?
Yeah. Say again?
Radial vein.
I did not. No, because I can't see it. I mean, I see it, but it doesn't have a number. And by the way, the ulnar vein is here, but I don't have a number. But, no, don't cross them off. Is that what you said?
No, I said they're just right next to each other.
They are right next to each other.
Just said it's that
Here.
number, but the blue one.
Yeah, it's the blue right next to the radial artery. So this is the radial vein right here. And this is the ulnar vein right here. They're right next to it. Ulnar vein. The radial artery is sitting right on it. So, yeah, there's no number, sorry. Okay? And there's no number on here either. You can see the ulnar artery and the radial artery, but you can't see the veins there either. But you can see the veins here, there's no number on them.
Is the middle one the middle?
This is the median vein. Oh, on
The
here?
median, yeah. Next to the median, there.
This is the brachial artery. This is bifurcating into the ulnar artery and the radial artery. This is the radial collateral back here. That's the radial there. That's the median artery right there. It goes to the interosseous artery. Yeah. Why, is the median artery on your list?
No, I just wanted to know.
Okay, where we're at now is radial collateral. Oh, we already did that one. Ulnar artery and vein. We already did that one. Superior ulnar collateral artery. Okay, let me take this off. Superior ulnar collateral. So first of all, your pinky side. I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to tell you. I got it. Here's what happens with this brachial artery right here. It bifurcates. And I have a brachial profunda that comes down here and makes a loop. My brachial profunda should be 4. Okay. My key person is saying yes. It's probably not in your list. But this is how I have to figure it out. I have to talk myself through this. Here's my deep brachial, which is called brachial profunda. That's 4. Right next to that, I have a superior ulnar collateral right here. Superior ulnar collateral should be 5. And inferior ulnar collateral should be the second. That goes to the thumb side, so it's not that. Stay pinky side, Jeffrey. Should be 14.
It makes sure that
Sam, what is it?
Yeah, it's not on the list.
Oh, it's not on the list? Good, I don't have to find it then. So this is the superior radial collateral, or ulnar collateral. This is superior ulnar collateral. Don't confuse it with number 4 right here, which is also not in your list, but that's the brachial profunda. Profunda means deep. This goes off the brachial and goes deep. So then you just have to touch that and say there, hey, that goes to the pinky side. If it goes to the pinky side and it runs into my ulnar artery, because it does, you can trace it right to my ulnar artery. This must be the superior radial collateral, right? Or ulnar collateral, superior ulnar collateral, right there. These loops back here are confusing. I'm glad they're not on the list. My 2 circles, I'm glad they're not on there. Next. Okay, I have superficial palmar arteries. I have a deep and a superficial. I have 2 palmar ridges. This number 13 is my superficial. It makes an arch. Some people call it the superficial palmar arch. Some people call it the superficial palmar artery. And number 12 here is deeper. And it's called the deep palmar arch, or the deep palmar arteries. Coming off of both of these arches are these arteries going up to my digits. These red arteries going to my digits are called digital arteries. These are the ones that are bleeding when you cut your fingers. I mean, if it's not capillary bleeding, you guys know what capillary bleeding is. If it's really good bleeding off your fingers, you cut these digital arteries.
Like the dorsal.
Okay, now these are on the palmar side. My superficial palmar artery is there, and my deep palmar artery is there. 13 is my superficial, and 12 is my deep. Then on the dorsal side, I also have an arch. And I also have dorsal digital arteries. So I have arteries on my dorsal side. I have an arch on my dorsal side, and I have dorsal digital arteries on my dorsal side. So what you have to know is superficial palmar, palmar digital, and dorsal digital. Oh, you don't have to know the deep palmar? That's weird. So my palmar digitals are on my palm, and my dorsal digitals are back here. And I'm going to change that for next year. There's stupid ones we have and important ones we don't have. All right. Thoracic aorta and pulmonary aorta. Now, what happens is, when this aorta descends, you arch and then you descend. So this is descending aorta. This is descending aorta. This is descending aorta. This is all descending aorta. But when it descends, you name it by where it's located. So this is the thoracic aorta. Let me do Fred for you for a while, because Fred has better, shows it better. The thoracic aorta on Fred is 342, right here. And the abdominal aorta on Fred is 393. You guys have heard of AAA? Abdominal aortic aneurysm? That's when there's an aneurysm in this abdominal aorta right here. So thoracic aorta and abdominal aorta. Pulmonary arteries and veins, you already know. This blue one is a pulmonary artery. This red one is a pulmonary vein. And if you put the heart back in and line them right up, they're the same as this and these. They line right up. You stick the heart in there and they line right up. You can say, wow, that was I learned that as a pulmonary artery before, and I learned these as pulmonary veins. Same thing. Pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein. And if you put the heart back in, where's the hole for it? Oh, that heart doesn't go to Fred. No wonder there's no hole. This heart goes here. And by the way, over here, I can see, ouch, over here I can see pulmonary arteries and pulmonary veins. On the normal torso, the pulmonary artery is 257 and the pulmonary veins are 258. 257 is the pulmonary artery, 258 is the pulmonary veins. I didn't give you numbers on Fred. Good, there's no numbers, I'm glad.
They have different names once they're...
Yeah, they do, because you have, in your right lung you have 3 lobes, in your left lung you have 2 lobes, and they name them by what lobes they go to. I don't know.
All of them in one lobe will have the same name.
Yeah, well they name that lobar artery for that lobe, and then they even name them further. But I don't know. You'll learn them, but I'll never learn them. I don't care to know them in that detail. You'll learn them eventually, though. All right. Okay, abdominal blood vessels. Here's my abdominal aorta. My inferior vena cava is right here. My superior vena cava is up here, but we already did that. So here's my inferior vena cava. Look how huge it is. Look how huge my inferior vena cava is. here's my abdominal aorta. My intercostal arteries and veins. These are right in here. Right between my, I'm sorry, these are right in here. My intercostal arteries and veins. My sympathetic chain ganglia has numbers, but my intercostal arteries and veins do not. Well, actually, 353, 355. Definitely can't see it over there. Oh, I actually wrote that down. Kendall, you coming in right here? See this artery right here?
Mm-hmm.
That's an intercostal. Your intercostal artery is 353. Your intercostal vein is 355. It's just between the ribs. It looks like it's between the ribs. It is. And they do have numbers on Fred. Okay, next. Hemizygous veins. Where is Fred's breastplate? I gotta grab Fred's breastplate. No, they don't show the back either. I might have to cross off hemizygous, folks. I can't find it. Check one more spot, and then I'll cross off hemizygous. Yeah, cross off hemizygous. Can't find it. I have no number for you. All right, where are we? Everyone crossed off hemizygous veins?
Yeah, what is it drains? What is it?
Drains the thoracic cavity. I wish I didn't have to cross it off. I wish I could find it for you.
Not on the little guy.
Let me check the little guy. Okay, next. Inferior phrenic artery and vein. The phrenic means diaphragm. So here's the diaphragm. It has to be underneath the diaphragm because it's inferior. This is regular torso. The inferior phrenic artery is 320. The inferior phrenic vein is 321. So 320 and 321. Inferior phrenic artery, inferior phrenic vein. Just because it's underneath the diaphragm. Celiac trunk. Now this gets hard. Well, not really. There's a better, I'll show you on both. See this big artery right here, big trunk that has 3 branches coming off? See that? This is called the celiac trunk, right there. There's 3 branches coming off. The one branch goes to the liver, and that's called the hepatic artery. The one branch goes to the stomach, and that's called the gastric artery. That's the center branch. And this branch right here, even though you can't tell, that goes to the spleen, and that's called the splenic artery. So the celiac trunk has the splenic artery, the gastric artery, and the hepatic artery all coming off of it. Now, this is actually how it looks like in us when you look at cadavers and stuff. But on this model,